Welcome to Scanners Offline, a Dropfleet podcast by Matt, Will, and JJ. Dropfleet news! Dropfleet news!
So we've got an upcoming tournament this weekend at Wargaming in Bromley. Dropfleet Commander tournament, 1250 points, Sunday the 12th of November. Myself and Matt are both going down to that. Should be good. All the information available for that is on Facebook. Fleetmaster 2 at Firestorm Games in Cardiff. That's the 10th of December, Sunday. All the information about that is on Facebook and Firestorm Games website.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
I think it's not just myself, but actually quite a lot of Redditch Wargaming are going to that. So it should be quite good.
Not sure about tickets sold yet, but it looks like Warbor, I'd guess around maybe at least 10 players.
It was quite a few. I got a list from Callum.
Oh, okay. So we know how many are going.
Yeah, I don't have it to hand, but I do have that list, so it does look pretty good at the moment.
How many players would you estimate at the moment for Warbor?
Warbor, I honestly have no idea.
Okay, but it was Callum who's running Firestorms,
yeah.
Fleetmaster 2.
Yeah.
That was over 16 players, I think.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, good. Sounds cool.
Should be good. Other than that, the only other news that I'm aware of is that since TT Combat announced their buyout of Hawk, is that the Battlefleet box sets are due out before Christmas, which is good for everyone that's starting a new fleet. It's good to get 1250 points in a box.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, just that fleet straight away is basically play out of the box, isn't it? You know, you've got everything set there, ready to go.
War stories. Who are?
So, Will, what were the last games that you played? Like, which is a good memorable one to recount?
Well, the last 3 games I played were at the Maelstrom, so all
right.
tournament games.
So you've not played a little bit recently then? You've not really had a chance?
No, I kind of wanted a bit of a break from Dropfleet to play some other games that I haven't played for ages, and I've ended up just playing X-Wing lots. Mostly.
Heretic!
To be fair, good game.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's a spaceship game. Where can you go wrong? But yeah, my games at the Maelstrom, they're all fun, all against really good opponents, good sportsmen. The previous games, I think my previous game was against you.
You have warm-up games against me.
Yeah, and you cursed my dice. Because they were bad in my first game, then they were terrible in my second game, and I have no idea how I played to a very close draw, which I just lost out on kill points.
Yeah. And
then in my third game, it just reversed, and my dice just went crazy, and everything went right.
The 3 games, what were the opponents in the scenarios?
So it was Scourge, which was grid control. Is that right? Is that
On the first one, yes, we did grid control.
So that started off, it looked quite good because he had some strike carriers that had a lower SR than my frigate group. So I went, okay, I'm going to pick one side, come in and out-activate strike carriers and kill them fully into atmosphere.
That was with Europas, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then he passed all his armor saves.
Yeah, I remember walking by at that point and thinking, I'm sure those Europas should have torn through those gargoyles by now.
Yeah, and it's sort of, okay, I'm going to lose a cruiser because of the really nasty cannon ground laser, which did happen. But I don't know how I did it, but I managed to bring it back from that. Yeah. Killing the Hydra somewhere towards the end was what I think swung it.
Did he take 1 Hydra for defence or 2 for aggression?
1 for defence.
1 for defence.
Yeah. I believe he said it was the first time he tried 1 in defence. I think he might have played a few practice games.
Yeah.
Which he did a really good job. But the reason why I don't like carriers and don't use them is when you launch, they get spikes, and a good opponent will go, I'm going to kill that carrier now. And that's what I did. I got a couple of the good turns shooting, and it was gone.
Scourge cruisers already have SIG 8.
Yeah.
Do you know how I get around that? Bring more.
Just redundancy with launch. Yeah.
But Seattle's are such good value for money points wise in UCM that you can bring. Dave did it. You can bring 5. Why not?
Yeah, you can bring 5. I don't know. I think it skews your list quite a lot, and you're doing all your damage at the end of the turn rather than.
I don't mind playing heavy launch lists. If I'm across the board from a really heavy bomber list.
Yeah.
It doesn't scare me as much as other kinds of lists. I think that I've got multiple ways I can deal with that. I can fly through debris fields. I can course correct. I can max thrust. I don't have to worry about it till the end of the turn, like you said. Yeah. There's a number of things.
I just want to put it out there that some of the top lists in Midlands Maelstrom, the top one that was Shatari had a platinum, which is a carrier, and the top UCM one had a New York. both carriers top.
That's
four.
true. The
Yeah.
carrier battleships did do well. Yeah,
And
that's true.
going back to my games.
Yeah, carry on. So, game 2 scenario.
So talking of heavy carry lists, my second game was against PHR, so it was a mirror match. But whereas my list is got no launch at all, I believe his had 4, 5, 6, 7 launch.
What were they being carried in there? Scipios,
Bellerophon,
yeah.
and 3 Andromeda were. So that was sort of the core of his list.
Yeah.
And usually he put them all in one battle group, so I had SR of 13, which I thought was really good for me because it meant I could out-activate and get to his carriers before they could either drop the signature or fire that really annoying big laser he's got on the front of it. Which it did do, but so I've got 2 Perseus in my list. Line them up so they could go weapons free, just in case I drew the command card that gives fuel save to all the weapons, because that's 2 extra shots to everything. Got it, did it, fired 8 heavy battery shots at it. Was in a different layer, so it wasn't hitting on 2s, it was on 3s, and did 1 damage.
Yeah, I think I remember walking by at this point too.
It was sort of like, I've won this game, I'm going to kill that carrier, and then I'm going to slowly just take his fleet apart. And that happened, I was like, okay, I can still win, but it's going to be really difficult, and just everything went wrong. Just sort of never made any armor saves. He made all his armor saves. He played really well as well, so he kept me pushed back, but I somehow managed to just keep the points at a draw.
You have those days sometimes when the dice just go against you.
Yeah, it's just sort of like...
JJ calls that every day.
Pretty much.
I think the worst bit was when he had his 5 Europas come up, unload into a strike carrier, kill the strike carrier, and then he fires close action at the...
Strike carrier in atmosphere?
Yeah. And then he
pretty
fired
lucky
the close action at a Perseus, so 10 close action shots. Perseus had taken 1 damage, and it killed it.
With Europa close action?
Yeah.
What?
Just killed
That's
it.
insane.
Yeah. He did 6 damage, and then I had reactors go boom. And then I think it was reactors go boom twice, so it was another 6 damage. It was sort of like...
abysmal luck.
Yeah. So, and then my third game was really, really good. Europa's won it for me, basically, by being really hard to kill. And actually killing strike carriers before they got to atmosphere. I think that's my war stories.
Thanks. Good war stories. White Sphere Wisdom. Right, now we turn to White Sphere Wisdom. So, we're going to talk about some questions that are relevant to the Dropfleet community right now. The first one is going to be, do you have any tips for speeding up gameplay? Because it's an issue that regularly comes up with Dropfleet players. We intro the game to new people, and they sort of say, oh, we really like that game, it's cool. Yes, it took 2 hours to do the intro, but, I like it. So then they get into the game, and then they really struggle. Our new players struggle to get 1250 in 3 hours, didn't they? Right. So if you could think of anything, what are some shortcuts that could help speed up gameplay, or just reduce the time of games generally?
Play more games.
So you think just experience, you just get... what do you mean by that? What do you get faster at remembering?
So knowing your own ship stats, I think, is the first real way of speeding up gameplay. Using reference sheets, there are some really good ones that have been done.
There's some on the Hawk forum, aren't there?
Yeah, the ones on the Hawk forum. They're really good.
The TT Combat forum. No.
Soon, separate topic. They're really good. They have all the ships on and all the quick reference charts that you could possibly need on 2 double-sided bits of A4. I think that's really good. That's the fastest way of speeding it up for me, is the stats. And if you know your stats, you can play fast. Knowing what you're going to do next is the next part. So thinking about what you're going to do while the other player's doing their turn, thinking about what your activation is going to be while they're doing it.
So forward thinking, basically. So having an idea in your head of what you're going to plan out next already.
Yeah.
That's a tricky skill. I mean,
I'm not really good at practicing what I preach with that, because I'm really terrible at forward thinking, as you two both well know.
Just play on spur at the moment.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm going to attack that. That's a good target. Or you just fall straight into my trap. Yes, I did.
It's like, oh look, my Atlantis can go weapons free regardless of the consequences. Let's go for it.
It was fun. I got to roll dice.
Well, what I find helps with forward thinking is pre-measuring a lot. So you pre-measure, you go, trying to remember what other people's ranges helps as well. So you know what they scan and signature and all that stuff is. But if you pre-measure, so you go, I'm in range to do this next turn.
Yeah.
You instantly, you know what you're doing next turn. You know what you want to activate, and if you do it during your opponent's turn as well, it saves a lot of time. And you kind of get an idea of what your opponent's going to do, and that also speeds things up because it's less of a surprise. There's less of the my opponent does this. Oh no, I don't want to do anymore because they've done that.
Well, you can measure even what they're capable of doing. You know, the ranges that they can get to.
Yeah.
You know, their movement
And that
plus scan.
also helps with future tactics because once you're starting to pre-measure, you're starting to get okay. Well, if I just move 1 inch less, they can't shoot me, and then next turn I can shoot them.
Yeah, I really hate it when people do that with my Jin.
Yeah.
When they're sitting in atmosphere.
You just go,
and
if I just go here, can't get me, and he's going to come up out of atmosphere to do stuff.
Yeah, okay, the most the Jin can go is 8 inches up out of atmosphere into low orbit, and then they've got a scan of 6. Yeah. So if I'm 14.5 inches away, I know the Jin can't bite me.
And that also helps with setting cards, because that's the thing that seems to slow new players down. There's a lot of thinking, whereas you go, okay, I don't want that battle group to go first, because the Jin are out of range now. If they go early, they'll be in range of the Jin, so I'm going to put them at the back. And once you start doing that, you're sort of going, you're almost by default have your order set.
Yeah.
It's just a few cards that
I do that. I divide them out into priority. Yeah. So I'll go, right, and look at each card and go, right, you can sit because you're silent running. So straight away, you can just spend the turn on silent running if you're already. Priorities are ships with spikes to me. Yeah. Like, I want to drop those spikes as fast as possible. Other things I've picked up, I think the obvious one is the crippling chart, right? Because, especially with frigates, because you can minimise the number of rolls, can't you?
Yeah, you just make your first roll go, oh, it's dead already.
Yeah, you know, if you roll a 5 up on the first roll for crippling table, don't bother rolling again for frigates. Yeah. Because you know it will die. All of the results on the top table are take 2 damage.
Yeah, I mean, the intro game I did on Sunday, that was his second game that he'd played, and he was already starting to pick that up. Yeah. Rolling 5+ in his first roll, I was dead.
That's a sign of a clever player. You start to pick up those patterns quickly.
The game 2, and he's already picking that up. So it is good.
Another thing would be the catastrophic. So like that table, I've got into a habit of rolling range first, because if range isn't into any ship, there's no point finding out what the effect is, right?
Yeah, that seems to be a general thing. A lot of people are doing now. It seems to be if you're playing an experienced player, when you get to the catastrophic, they roll range. That's almost how you tell that you're playing an experienced player.
And then the last thing I'd say as well is we know that the ground combat can get it can take a while, can't it? If you've got a lot of ground combats going on, and then you're supposed to like roll initiative and like take turns to select a ground combat. But I can't see a downside of just going left to right across the board and being like, okay, let's do this cluster, do all the ground combat, next one. Yeah. Because if there isn't a need to roll for initiative and take turns picking, I don't see the point in that.
9 times out of 10, yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah.
There are some exceptions, but I think that's case by case.
Yeah, initiative for dropping ground assets, fine, that's important. But for working out ground combats, they're going to happen anyway. And at that point, you can't adjust them because you've already moved your ground assets around.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah. You can also sometimes, on turns 5 and 6, skip some of the combats. You can look at them and go,
it's not going to change.
It's not going to change anything. It doesn't matter what happens here. We might roll out that one in that sector just to make sure that tank's not going to survive and kill everything. But you can generally go, you're just going to drop a load of stuff in, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Sometimes it does, but most of the time you already know the result.
So we'll move on to a fun one. Easy to wax lyrical on this, but we'll try to keep it short. So what is your favourite ship and why? This should be an easy one to talk about, but I think the challenge is going to be not to go on about it too much. And JJ's just bursting over here to say the name of a Midwest American city.
Seattle.
You didn't sound like you were bursting when you said it there.
Sorry, the Seattle.
There we go. Go on then, leads off.
Pretty self-explanatory, really. Anyone that's playing UCM will very quickly realise that the Seattle is one of the more flexible ships available to the UCM. Value for points, as it were.
How many points is it for Seattle?
132, 136, something like that.
Oh, long-time UCM player should know the points values.
By now.
I thank DF List for this because I don't have to know the points values.
Just stop looking at the values.
DF List tells me Seattle's points are 132.
There we go. Okay, you got it first time and then doubted yourself.
Right. Yeah.
So what are the strengths of the Seattle? Why?
It's got the firepower of a Rio. 4 shots hitting on 3s. Heavy mass drivers. Really good gun. Doesn't have to go weapons free.
The arc is big too, isn't it?
270-degree fire arc, so you can shoot pretty much all round. Decent close action. Never needs to go weapons free because it's only got one big gun. And at the end of the turn, the cream on the cake, as it were, is the launch ability. You can only launch 3, but when you've got several of them in the fleet, that's enough.
They contribute to the launch value, and
Because you never need to go weapons free, it can then do standard orders the following turn and lose its spike for launching.
Seattle will never need to do weapons free ever. It's really good for spike management because
it always only just standard. Because 270 degree fire arc, you hardly ever need to course change. The only time I think I've got an extra spike on it is when I've either been active scanned by an opponent or when I've had to stop over a cluster to score a critical location or something like that.
Do you find it often acts as like you play it as like a backfield ship that's just going to hang around, launch, chip in a few shots or something with a spike, and then like score your home critical location, or do you send them into the fray as like just bang them in there for the short range bombers?
I usually take 2, so I usually go straight in.
Yeah. Go aggressive.
Carriers can definitely work in the backfield. The New York definitely has a spot in the backfield.
Yes. We tested that.
We've tested that at length. But with the Seattle, I feel it's more than capable of looking after itself in the fray, as it were. And I think it can go toe to toe with most other cruisers.
Well, 3 up armor with 10 hull is the respectable UCM standard. That's pretty hard.
Yeah. So the Seattle for me is my favourite UCM ship. On balance, there are obviously a few other favourites, but it was the favourite ship.
You've been playing a long time now, so that's not like it's just the ship of the moment that you like. It's clear that's
from game 1 with the starter fleet. It's been my favourite. It's always consistently performed. It's very rare I have a game where I think, Seattle didn't do very well. Every game it's doing average or above.
Yeah. Over to Mr. PHR. What do you think? What's your best ship now? Again, we're about a year of playing now. So
yeah. So best ship is pretty easy. It's the Europa. It's in every single list I write, unless I'm trying to do something really different.
Not every list.
Sometimes
I remember what it's not.
Sometimes I take it out just to, because I feel like it's so good. It's almost a crutch. Because of what I do with them. Sort of, they're nice low. So sometimes I'll take it out just to try and improve my tactics.
It's been consistently effective what you do with them though.
Yeah.
So do you want to explain your usual Europa tactics?
Yeah. So go last on the first turn. Max thrust up 20 inches. Ideally, opposite some strike carriers, or possibly something I really want to kill.
Like a Shaltari mothership, maybe.
Shaltari mothership, or some carriers. Carriers are normally a good target, because carriers are almost the hard counters frigates, I feel, anyway, personally. And then they will go first on the second turn and kill something.
Yeah.
And then they're generally quite hard to remove, because I take them in 5 normally, because that means they're activating at the same time as any single cruiser. And most people seem to take cruisers with some frigates, so they will always go before them. And if you're playing Shaltari, they will out-activate most Void Gate groups, because Void Gates are either with the Emeralds...
Shaltari players tend to target the Emerald groups. Yeah.
Big groups of 9, so you can get in there and you, like, if they make a mistake and bring the boat too far forward, you can fly in between. You can just take out 5 or 6
and it's
Void
like, bang, Europas.
Yeah, it really is.
I hate them.
They're just really good, quite hard to remove.
That's
sometimes
a really
they
important
don't get
thing.
their points back. Sometimes they do. It just goes wrong and they all die. But
that's what I've always found with Europas, because I'm PHR on my second fleet, so I've both played against them and started to play with them. And the thing that my opponents tend to find the most frustrating thing about Europas is that once they've done that initial big hit, they're in the backfield. They're really hard to remove because they've got 5 hull rather than 4, and they've got 3 up armor, which not only raises their crippling threshold. You have to pour a lot of dedicated firepower, and when your enemy's he's trying to move his fleet on to actually fight the battle, and you've got Europas in behind. It's such a thorn in the I really like how irritating they can be to an opponent.
It takes some serious firepower to get rid of them.
Yeah,
and that serious firepower, that's stuff not coming towards your troop ships, so I find as a PHR player.
For Shaltari especially, I think, because of their front arcs and narrow, it's a real pain for them to have to turn around to deal with it.
Ironically, PHR are really good at killing Europas because they've got 6 or 12 light broadsides which can shoot at frigates. Which are quite good at
and Echoes are quite good at removing frigates as well, which is a little bit annoying because they can be in smaller SR group and still get rid of a few.
I like Europas, good answer. And then lastly for me, so for Scourge, I was just trying to think as I was listening to you talk about what I'd pick, and I don't want to be really, really stereotypical as a Scourge player, but there's kind of one standout ship that like every Scourge player takes, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Could be one of 3, Basilisk.
Yes, Mr. Basilisk. Yeah. So
best battle cruiser in the game at the moment.
Basilisk / Akuma. Thinking across all the other factions, I think it does stand out for. Yeah, well, if we go through its stats quickly and what it can do, obviously has a full cloak, so until it's crippled, it can never get any spikes, which means it's also a really good active scammer. It's fast, it can move 10 inches a turn. It has some serious weapon ornaments, because it can put out in its front arc, when it goes weapons free, 8 3-up dice that do double damage, which is really, really hard hitting.
16 damage.
Yeah, I could mentally try and work out the averages, but I generally, like, you cripple a cruiser easy, if not kill it outright if you roll well. It's like the staple of a Scourge fleet right now. I think it's made more so because the battleship options are a little bit lackluster for Scourge. I think we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah.
But it's just such an obvious Admiral choice that it means 99 out of 100 Scourge lists always have a Basilisk or an Akuma. It's 4-up armor, like all Scourge, which is not great. 14 hull, battlecruiser standard. But its damage output is just insane. It's a brilliant ship, and it's always done really well for me. I've always been able to rely on it to remove cruisers and get up. I usually send it up the middle, and to be honest, it probably dies in more games than it lives, but it'll take a lot with it.
It always gets that first strike, thanks to stealth and full cloak.
Yeah, you can stealth up. I like to drop them into low orbit turn 1, and then sort of angle and approach where I can continue to silent run until the target appears. Try and low orbit angle the run so that it covers at least a cluster or 2. So around turn 4, when your opponent's trying to position for critical locations, or they're trying to drop onto it, they've got to go near the cluster that you've lined up. It's almost impossible to avoid it. Yeah. It's hard counter probably. It is going to be heavy launch, because you can launch onto it even if it's silent running.
I think torpedoes.
If they were better.
No, because it wants to go stealth or it wants to go weapons free. Those are its 2 things it wants to do, which means it will never be shaking the torpedo, and it's only got a 4+ save, so those 6 hits, even if they don't crit. Obviously, unfortunately, it's only 6 damage.
It won't cripple it straight off.
I think torpedoes do need a little bit of a change, but we shall talk about that another time, I think.
Yeah, let's see about that now. But yes, the Basilisk every time. I did think a little bit about, I think some Scourge players would say Hydra. I think some Scourge players would say Charybdis. I was thinking about Charybdis, seriously thinking about Charybdis.
So to choose from, I mean, there's Jinn or White.
There's Jinn too. Now you've made me think of Jinn. Maybe I should change my answer to Jinn.
Jinn are really
Jinn
good.
Are amazing.
Jinn are amazing.
I'm planning on doing a Scourge Force in the future with Jinn. So
no, let's stick with the Basilisk just because of its Admiral and even its close action is good. Like if it gets that
everything
close.
About it's good.
Scald.
I hide from them.
Just run away. Basilisk is coming.
Or burn through those.
But yeah, definitely Basilisk. Our last question to come to is advice for new players, and it's to do with Shaltari Void Gates. I don't want it to sound like we're picking on Shaltari just because none of us play Shaltari properly yet.
Yeah,
JJ, I know you're working on a Shaltari fleet, but I'm sure we all remember those first few games when we did play Shaltari, and you sort of learn the rules, and you're like, okay, I'm getting a handle on this. I'm sort of getting a hang of how this works.
Yeah.
Fleets all seem kind of similar, and then you play Shaltari, and it's like, oh my god.
It's broken.
How does this even work? How do I... They don't obey any of the rules. They do whatever they want, and they have shields, and their Void Gates can kill my strike carriers, and there aren't even corvettes yet. This isn't fair.
They can shoot down dropships.
Yeah.
So the question really is, the advice is for the new players who get like spanked by Shaltari, addressing one aspect of it. What can you do to counter the Void Gates and the way that Shaltari deliver troops to a cluster? I mean, what springs to mind as an obvious way to counter that, first of all? Anyone?
Well,
You've got no ideas. Shaltari win everything. Just give up now.
Shoot them until they're dead.
So I find there are 2 ways that I counter Void Gates.
Yeah, go on then.
So the first way is the easiest. Void Gates generally in large strategy rating groups. So I have a small frigate group or maybe a cruiser on its own.
So this kind of leads on from what we said about Europa.
Yeah. Get them in, kill the Void Gates before they get to atmosphere. Generally they will get to a couple of clusters, but if you get in there quick, you can stop them from getting everywhere.
So tactic 1 is catching them in turn 2 with a low SR group.
Yeah, or depending on when they bring them in as well, because some Shaltari players will be really clever and not necessarily spot that you're going to do this and not necessarily bring them in and try and get rid of your frigates or whatever.
They are losing turns of drop then. So you have kind of
you've kind of won already. Yeah. So it's kind of a good tactic. Second tactic is ignore them and kill the emeralds. Because if you kill the void gates, they suddenly have emeralds which they don't have a need for, and then they've got an extra combat ship. Because the emeralds are still really good at the orbital game.
They've got
because they've got six shots on a 4+.
Disruptors.
Yeah.
Are they front arc or narrow?
Front narrow.
Front narrow. So they have to fly at you. So if they're trying to keep them alive.
So sorry, are they
bad
front
for them
or
to shoot.
narrow when you say front narrow?
They're front.
They're narrow.
Yeah.
Front narrow. Yeah.
Wait,
narrow.
it's
narrow at
listed
the
as
front.
FN, front narrow.
Okay, that's so confusing. No, so they're narrow arc. Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yeah. So they have to fly at you to shoot. So if they're trying to keep them alive and keep them away from your fleet, they won't be shooting. But once you've killed enough void gates, they're going to start just sending them in. And one on its own is not too bad, but when suddenly 3 of them turn up, you start losing ships.
Or 4.
Or 4.
Yeah, another tactic I'd chip in with is that, Shatari have the chaining rule, don't they?
Yeah.
So I've seen sometimes when Shatari players have... Yeah. Have your Django moment. Right, chain breaker. No, Khaleesi. Breaker of chains.
Yes.
Go all Khaleesi tactics and find where that one void gate is that's like keeping the chain intact and try to remove that. I mean, it's kind of opportunistic if the chance comes up, and to be honest, a lot of Shatari players will just make sure the mothership is within 18 anyway.
Yeah.
But that's one thing you can do. Obviously, you kind of need corvettes to be able to make that work. Or you need PHR cruisers that have loads and loads of shots.
Yeah, which is really nice.
The only other real faction that can improvise taking out void gates without corvettes.
I went weapons free with Atlantis once and killed one void gate.
That's such a poor points return.
Yeah.
For going weapons free.
The Shatari player was loving it.
Who were you playing against then?
Chris.
Yeah, okay, that's not surprising. Yeah, I bet he did love
He
that.
almost won himself.
Did you win that game in the end?
No.
No. What a surprise.
Atlantis died straight after firing at that void gate. Got diamond to the face.
I bet the crew of that Atlantis were like, "What are we even doing? Like, what?"
They were already escape pods. Nobody died.
Why are we being ordered to go weapons free on a single void gate?
It wasn't supposed to be. I was going to shoot at multiple. I fired at 3, I think.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, okay, fair enough.
Killed 1.
So yeah, and then like you've said really well, like the other option is to go ruthlessly after the emeralds. But I don't know about you guys, but like whenever you try that tactic against Shatari, it is difficult not to lose about half of your fighting fleet trying to get to them.
My best result so far at doing that was with Taipei's. I managed to a group of 5 of them. I managed to jump on an emerald and wipe it out before it could do anything or get away. Put shields up, but Taipei's killed it. Followed by a diamond the following turn in conjunction with...
This is when your Taipei's like ridiculously hot rolling, weren't they? Yeah. And you were that's when you discovered Taipei's, I remember.
Taipei's are so good. I love Taipei's. They're almost as good as the owls.
A, go after the motherships. B, try to break the chain. What else have we said? C, try to snipe them in turn 2.
Well, get them to put their shields up is a good way to... the other UCM player, Luke, from Redditch, has got a quite good tactic of going in with an initial unit to attack, putting it in danger, an emerald in danger. They'll then put shields up, and then he'll come in with another unit, close action it, or laser it to death.
Double laser it, yeah.
The double laser thing, like coming in with the Avalon, giving it with bloom and flash, hitting it with that, and then following up 2 new Kairos coming on that turn. He's developed that to a bit of a fine art.
3 new Kairos. Yeah. UCM burn throughs is another topic for another day. But so Shatari players, I'm sorry, but I think void gates are balanced now. I know there was a lot of complaining that they'd gone too far with changing them, but you're just gonna have to suck it. I think that's fair now.
I'm quite happy with void gates now. As far as other Shatari shenanigans, which we'll cover on in another time, but the glass are pretty good and the diamonds are pretty good, but I also think they're pretty balanced now. I mean, the diamond potentially could go up a little bit in points, but
it already did, didn't it?
Yeah,
I think there's probably room for it to go up a little bit more.
I think the diamond is another topic too. So we'll leave the diamond for now. But yes, so I mean, new players as well facing Shatari, you'll get used to it. It just kind of requires a complete change in your
They're not
in your
a great
tactics.
starter game army, to be fair, because they mechanics are so different from the other 3 factions. The way they teleport troops and stuff like that, it's really confusing. Like when I did the demo game with George, he was like, "Okay, so yours works completely differently to mine." And I had to explain the differences in it.
Yeah, so you
It's so now.
so you explain the core rules of the game and then be like,
Yeah, mine are
but
different.
but Shatari break it in here, and here.
Yeah.
All ships just have an armor save. Oh, except Shaltari, who can put shields up.
Yeah.
Everyone should drop troops in this way, except Shaltari, you do it this way. Yeah, they're not the best for a starter game. They're not balanced in it, are they, really? I think if you want to play a balanced starter game against the Shaltari starter set, you need to at least put one more fighting frigate in the UCM Scourge or PHR ones. Like an extra Europa, an extra Toulon, or an extra Harpy. Even then, that's not adding that much. But, anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty much covered how you should deal with void gates. Okay, that just about wraps up the episode. We've been your hosts, Matt,
Will,
And JJ.
and you've been listening to Scans Offline. Thank you for listening, and join us next time.
bye.
That makes